US President Joe Biden has marked 100 days in office with his first major speech to Congress. It was a pretty deceptive speech, and it was also incredibly short-sighted when it came to US history, trying to talk up and exaggerate this year's Capitol Hill riots and therefore downplay terrible atrocities in US political history. I'll have more on that later. But for now, let's look a little at President Biden's focus on race issues, particularly in light of last year's riots right across the country and the recent murder conviction over the killing of George Floyd.
It was nearly a year ago, before her father's funeral, when I spoke with Gianna Floyd, George Floyd's young daughter. She's a little tyke, so I was kneeling down to talk to her so I could look her in the eye. She looked at me, she said, "My daddy changed the world." Well, after the conviction of George Floyd's murderer, we can see how right she was if we have the courage to act as a Congress. We've all seen the knee of injustice on the neck of Black Americans.
Pretty strong stuff there, isn't it? You've got to address these issues, but elevating the convicted armed robber George Floyd, a man who was, of course, cruelly and callously killed, but elevating him to hero status? I don't know. And the president also in those comments was pretty damning of the US, of what he calls systemic racism. And that charge was taken on. It was taken on head on by Republican Senator Tim Scott in his official rebuttal.
Today, kids are being taught that the color of their skin defines them again. And if they look a certain way, they're an oppressor. From colleges to corporations to our culture, people are making money and gaining power by pretending we haven't made any progress at all, by doubling down on the divisions we've worked so hard to heal. You know this stuff is wrong. Hear me clearly. America is not a racist country. It's backwards to fight discrimination with different types of discrimination. And it's wrong to try to use our painful past to dishonestly shut down debates in the present.
Yeah, we've got to watch out for that divisiveness, because a lot of people see it in the US and try and bring it into our debate here. We've seen a lot of it in our debate here in recent times. It's a strange debate, isn't it, in the US at the moment? The white president proclaiming systemic racism, the African-American senator defending his compatriots. But there is a fascinating indictment of the Liberal left here, the Democrat supporters, or at least the opponents of Senator Tim Scott, because Scott was immediately set upon on Twitter as Uncle Tim, a racist riff off the Uncle Tom label, of course. This hashtag was trending on Twitter, and Twitter clearly didn't seem to have any problem with it. Ugly stuff. So there is racism, of course, on all sides in every debate in the US, but how entrenched it is, how it manifests itself, and how it's dealt with, these are the questions. Not so much on that so far from Joe Biden.